I'm Sinéad Voorhees. I work at Whitworth University. Fun fact, I am originally from Ireland, and depending on how much drink I have in me and or how angry I am, I will go very firmly from an American accent to an Irish, as noted last night when I gave the first welcoming introduction at the Journal of Business, full American. 25 minutes later, stand up and I'm like, yeah, let's introduce Amanda. Anyway.
Yeah. What's in the coffee this morning?
I said, bring Bailey's. No, just kidding.
All right, so let's start with define relational selling and or business development and or sales.
Oh.
Whatever you feel comfortable with. Yeah.
Love this.
Okay.
So relational selling is when you prioritize connection above all other parts of the sale. So connection defined as the energy between people who are paying attention, right? I think often we don't pay attention. So there's lots of energy in the world, but it's paying attention. Traditional selling is more transactional, right? That's where, to Mary's point, you feel icky when you say it, because it's like the used car salesman. And it's a lot of the push method. I'm upselling you, I'm selling you the insurance, I'm trying to sell you quick, I speak fast, because the goal of transactional selling is to close. Right, the goal of the relational selling is to form a connection. So that's it, and it's nuts and bolts. Yeah, you can quote me my essay.
I can't write as fast as you talk, so we'll see what happens.
Pardon?
What did you say?
So the goal of relational selling is to prioritize connection above all other parts of the sale. And here's the beauty of that. I don't know how many goal-oriented people I have in the room. Maybe a couple, okay? So you shift your perspective, like what's a win, right? And a win in any kind of interaction with someone is forming a connection. And that's when you know I've moved the needle.
Okay, so I want to show case in point. So raise your hand if you've been to a Business Brew before, right? So a few of us are Business Brew old schoolers. Some of us have even presented at a Business Brew before, which is great. Raise your hand if you hadn't heard of it until Sinead posted it on LinkedIn. So the other half, all of you are part of her relational selling, right? So she may not be actively selling to you, but she has built relationship with you first and foremost, right? Would you say that's a fair example?
Yeah, absolutely.
So people who know Business Brew came in this morning and said, wow, you have a great group. And I said, it has nothing to do with me, it's Sinead. So talk about that. How have you built that? And you even had people here say, my fun fact is I'm a Sinead fan. Like how do you do that?
I did not get these questions ahead of time. Here's what I try to do when I form connection with people is I try to help them with one thing other than what I'm selling. So newsflash, as the assistant dean, I am selling graduate degrees and most recently more accessible things like certificates. The Institute of Leadership is, I would not say accessible, but it is an opportunity for people to engage with us without getting a graduate degree, for example. So I would say, like, literally, I look out at the crowd and you're all fabulous, but I literally want to send you a book because I'm like, we had a conversation and I think this book is really relevant for you. I've sent lots of people books. I introduce people to other people. Josh has always wanted to teach. I have an opportunity for you. Let's make that happen, you know? So that's one of the things that I think I form connection. I'm not just kind and bubbly because I think a misnomer is that salespeople have to be super energetic. I know soft-spoken, intentional people who are amazing recruiters. So it has nothing to do necessarily with like how loud your personality is, and it has everything to do with if you're paying attention enough to form a meaningful connection with someone. So kind of one, I like to do people favors. Super genuine way. Two, I like to connect with them on something other than what I'm selling. And here's the reality. Most people know when they meet me, once I tell them the title, what I do, like that I could sell them an MBA. If you're working at a...
That you could.
I could. I'll get all of you. But the reality is I care more about your new baby, right? I care more about your new business. I care more about your transition. I care more about your dreams. And I actually have people at the end of the day say, I feel like I would be cheating on you, Sinead, if I went anywhere other than Whitworth. And I was like, oh, peculiar, but I'll take it, you know? And so the big thing is listening to what people aren't telling you initially, right? Mm-hmm. And the goal there is to listen to understand, not to respond. Like, I literally would be in coffees and I'm such a chatty person, my knee-jerk reaction is to relate to people or add or do something. And there are times I'm like, all I say is, tell me more. Tell me more. And it is amazing what people will share. And that's where I become connected with people. Not everyone needs a graduate degree. Not everyone should get a graduate degree, right? I'm also very open about that. So the third point is, I'm not going to sell you something I don't think you need. I'm not that person. In fact, like I've met people and it is amazing how disarmed they are when I'm like, yeah, you have 2 graduate degrees. I don't think a third is going to help you, but like, let's look at certifications, or if you want to change an industry or a career, let's look at options. Like, I'm actually very open. Do not do this if I don't think it's wise for them. And that's being genuine.
Talk more about that. So being honest with people when your product or service is not the right fit might feel like a loss. Talk about how that's a win.
Yeah, because again, relational selling is prioritizing the connection. I'm not looking for the close. But here's what I do know. I have the unique pleasure of being intimately connected to our products. So if I don't think a graduate degree is worth it for Taylor, she has an MBA already from another institution. What I would say is, like, we have a women's leadership certificate. It's an 18-week course, and you're gonna get group coaching, you're gonna get this. So part of the things about being really successful in your recruiting is also knowing your diversification of products. And here's the bummer, here's the rub about being a relational seller. And this has actually weighed on me, and at times I've thought, am I cut out for this? Is that if your product fails them or is not to the standard that you promoted, it is personal. And so that's what you have to be. You have to believe in really what you're doing, because if not, it is your integrity, right? I feel a different kind of bond with someone I recruited for 5 years to come into the MBA, as opposed to someone who's like, hey, I fill out an application and I meet them at the admissions interview. I have in my heart, a greater responsibility to the person that I've known for a long time. And so if you are not bought into your product, you are not in alignment. And when I first started in the MBA 6 years ago, I'd say it was hard because we had a lot of work to do.
You weren't even accredited the same way you are now, correct? So you had to go through that process too. Was that part of trying to create a service or a deliverable that you felt was better?
You guys, are we like circle of trust here? Okay. Like,
wait, hold on. Before you...
No.
I have to tell you, I'm not just checking my Facebook. We are live streaming. So if you have something you want to say, let's be mindful that this will live on the interwebs forever.
Forever.
Okay.
Forever.
Okay.
So this is no surprise, but like when the MBA was like up and going, our graduate school was gaining traction, it's like when I came in, I asked one question for the first entire year. And I said, is this the best we can do? And sometimes the answer was, yes. Do not fix this. This is not broken. It's the best we can do. Other times that answer was, for right now, yes. In a lot of instances, it was absolutely not. Not the best we can do. And so I will tell you that as we were building what I was hoping for, the vision that we had for the MBA, it takes time. And not just our accreditation, which is also amazing. That's like an external validation. We knew we were cool before we got that. Thank you, world. But it's more like, what kind of classes do we want to have? I want more than just theory and people lecturing at you for 3 hours. But that is traditional academia. How do we get interaction? How do we apply? How do we shift a mindset from textbook only to case studies and presenters and simulations? How do we do cool things like take people on trips to Sun Valley or Palm Springs or whitewater rafting? Like, how do we do that kind of stuff?
I was just selling that for you today, Sun Valley.
Oh,
yeah.
Thanks, John. Here's the other thing about selling. When you say it about yourself, it's bragging. When someone else says it about you, it's proof. So, how are you leveraging your networks? So, Harvard has come out with some just really cool stuff about leadership recently. And they're like, so the first tenet of leadership is leadership of self, in the sense that you ask yourself, how do people experience me? And how do people experience themselves when they are with me? Am I in an industry where I want people to experience a calmness about me because it's a really high stakes industry and they need that calmness? Am I in an industry or profession where I need to hype people up? That's me. You can get a graduate degree. You can do this. How do people experience me? And then how do people feel when they have left me? And that's actually what they're going to remember, is how you made them feel. And then the second thing is, how are you working with your networks? And these are informal groups that you have no authority over, right? These are like, I nominate our MBAs and our graduate students for every award under the sun. One, because they're worthy, and two, how cool is it to get that kind of publicity for free because our students are doing amazing things. I'm involved in EWI. I was involved in Emerging Leaders Society. All of these things around town, because you want to be the kind of person that people want to be around, because then your product should be an extension of you, which is hard because I don't teach the classes. So that's, that's why I get people like Heather and Josh to be great.
I got to write that down. You got to be the kind of person people want to be around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, don't let me do it all. Somebody else pop in. Okay, go ahead.
So how does that work, let's say, if you are so connected, people connect you with your product, because I went through that when I left my last position, and to this day, people still assume I'm with the last place.
Yeah.
So if you're always asking yourself, how do I improve this product, and then you are so tied to it, not that you would ever, but if, God forbid, Whitworth or Sinéad, how do you unwind that in a way that is still mindful of all that you've given of yourself to your organization?
How do you unwind it? Are you talking like personally? Like, how do you become the person?
How do you transfer your sales, your relationship sales ability when people connect you with one organization when you move to another?
So here's the brilliant thing about relational sales. Thank you for asking that question, Cindy. Is people are connected to Cindy. People are connected to Sinead. So I have to believe if I join Canopy Credit Union or 4 Degrees one day, it's not going to be like they don't like Sinead anymore, because they liked me, right? Because I helped them with something, or I connected with them on something very emotional. And so that is the beauty of when you form genuine connection with someone, is the connection is what follows you, not your product. But it is hard. I have had like a crisis of conscience at one point where I think, if I was to ever leave Whitworth, I am Sinead from Whitworth. Like, who am I? And that's where you come with not conflating what you do with who you are, right? So, yeah, Mary.
You hit on something that I think is really important, is you don't have control over the product, right? So you don't teach the classes, and you're not representing, and if that doesn't align, we talked about it earlier.
Yep.
How do you handle that?
Yeah. Well, then you have some really hard questions. So the beauty of my position, which I don't think I fully appreciated when I started, was that I took recruiting with me in my job role when I became the director and then assistant dean. Normally that lies with like an assistant director, recruiter, and academic advisor. I took it with me. And the reason for that is I could talk to Emily in real time to be like, what does she need in her industry? What does she want to learn? And then I can take that to the curriculum committee because I'm tied to the quality of my product. If you are in a situation where that is a disconnect, so that's where rubber meets the road. I have told people, if you do not feel in alignment and people are trusting you either with their time, their information, their money, and you do not align with the product, that's an ethical quandary. And I've told people I would leave. If you cannot connect with your product, I was just actually chatting with someone who doesn't know it yet, but they will join our MBA one day. And the whole time we didn't talk about an MBA at all, but she talked about how she's not in alignment with her job anymore. And there's a grief. There's a grief you feel when you've put time and energy, a deeper grief when you feel like you've brought people you trust into it and you're selling them a product or a service. And I tell people that grief is real. Let's sit in that grief. Let's talk about it. And she was grieving. She had worked at this company for 10 years. And she's like, I just don't think I can do it. And so I didn't say, so you need an MBA. I said, how can I help you? I'm going to introduce you to some people. I'm going to send you some people, HR people. There are MBAs. They're good people. You're good people. We're going to make it work. And then I sent her a book.
What book did you send her?
Impact Players by Liz Wiseman. I said, you are an impact player. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. Because it was very clear to me. The other thing about relational sales, listen to what they're not saying. So I knew she's a mom. She was working 60 hours a week. She was feeling worn down. And she had been promoted to a level in this company where she could see behind the curtain. And she saw how the C-suite treated each other. Not how they did business, but how they treated each other. And she's like, it is vicious. It is volatile. And though I believe in like everything the part of the company is doing, I can't unsee what I've seen. And what she wasn't telling me there is that she is a person of high integrity. That matters to her. It was very clear to me she was grieving over missing out on her child's life. It was very clear to me that she was lost because she said, I thought this is what I wanted. I thought I wanted to be with the C-suite. And now I'm like, I've worked a decade to get here, and I feel like I've wasted time. So that's an identity thing. So you have to have really high emotional intelligence to do relational sales really well because you're doing a lot of listening.
You want to learn more about emotional intelligence? Dr. Sloan did a 2-part Business Brew on leading with emotional intelligence. That's available on YouTube. Sorry, shameless plug.
Yeah. Here's what's brilliant about what Josh is doing, though. If you are really interested in relational sales, Keith Ferrazzi has a book, Never Eat Alone. I've sent it to people. In it, he talks about ways to interact with people that are not so transactional. Like when someone comes to my office looking for an MBA, I give them all the information, we do all the things. But to like be in front of people, get on boards, start hosting conferences. This Business Brew, brilliant idea, Josh, well done.
Wasn't mine, but yeah.
Thank you. Own it. Like the fact that I nominate our MBAs for all sorts of awards, starting the Institute of Leadership, the Elevate Women's Certificate, like all the things that we're doing are pathways for people to connect with you. You have got to give people pathways to connect with you. And the thing I tell you to be careful is that you can run yourself dry. You can go to every event, create too many pathways, and then you're like, I'm imploding. But if you do not create pathways for people to connect with you, you will never be a relational seller. So that's where social media comes in handy, because I can actually connect with a broad range of people without doing one-on-one coffees, or interactions like this. But yeah, it's trust building.
Any questions? I mean, I'll keep asking them, but I want to let.
No, I think, yeah.
In your experience,
yeah,
with all the relationships that you form like this,
yeah.
what percentage of them go south where your interlocutor turns out to be disingenuous after a certain amount of time?
Where I am disingenuous?
No, your interlocutor, the other person is disingenuous.
Oh, it's
So it
disingenuous,
seems
yeah.
like
Yeah.
that you have a good relationship with
Yeah.
them, and then one day they just turn.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. That's a great question.
Yeah, what happens when people get ugly?
You do business with people you like. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't respect people.
I was going to say, so here's the interesting thing. People assume that I'm friends with everyone and I'm friendly with everyone. And I actually have to correct people. I'm never rude. I recruit very specific types of people, right? And I don't know about your situation. I've never had it where I've really felt a connection and then well, I was with a coworker. I would say, I would ask some questions, right? I would say, what changed? What was the nexus point? I would ask, what is this person actually showing me? Is it jealousy? Is it fear? Is it insecurity? Like, what is the root cause for the behavior change? So I had a coworker, and she planned my baby shower, you know? Like, we were close, and we were in step, and we looked similar. We took twinsy photos, you know? Maybe it's a female thing. Like, we were, and I was promoted above her. And it changed not just slightly, but like a vicious, quick, violent change.
Yeah.
Talking about me, like just to the point of sabotaging, trying to sabotage one of my employees. And I had to take a step back. I had to go 30,000 feet. And I have to say, this former friend is clearly feeling really, what would I say, threatened. There's a lot of emotions. What does this share? Well, she had been at the company longer than I had. Okay, so she's probably grappling with, why am I not performing? Why do they not see my potential? That has nothing to do with me. I was promoted for a variety of reasons, and she's probably questioning, why have I worked so hard? So what I would say there is, it's hard to disconnect in a certain way, but I can't be friends with everyone.
Well, thank you for that, but you haven't answered my question.
Like, what do you do?
Yeah, no, what percentage? What's this?
My percentage? I've had one coworker.
So, okay, so very low.
Yeah, very low. I've had students that have been admitted into our program that were not good fits. And so I've had to, those students eventually leave our program. They're not ones I actively recruited.
Let's dig into that. So they leave early?
Yes.
They don't finish, they don't complete whatever you recruited them into? Okay, and what happens then?
I have to do the least fun part of my job and do like academic and behavioral grievances, which is where we dismiss people from our program or they eventually trickle out. But I've dismissed, I mean, there's more formal academic terms, but it would be like ending a sales contract, you know, where you have a client and they're paying money, but you're like, I had to think down the road, do I want this person being an alumni? That's a forever thing, you know? Like, do I want them saying, I hold a Whitworth MBA or I hold, you know, this certificate? So to formally answer your question, very low. Does it happen? Absolutely. The way I deal with that is I understand that I am not the lead actor or person in their life. And so they probably have a lot going on and it's not about me, all about me.
I think that's key. And I think Brene Brown talks about this in one of her podcasts, but we have a tendency to dehumanize people when that situation happens and forget that because you did this with your coworker, there's a reason behind it.
Yeah.
And that reason makes them more human than maybe we want to admit.
Yes.
And if we can just try to you don't even have to ask them, you don't even have to really solve it.
Yeah.
But to just at least be in a place where you can go, okay, there's something else going on. It's really not about me. I like how you said, I'm not the lead actor in their story. Yeah, I think that really helps in those moments when things don't go according to plan.
Yeah, it's convenient to villainize people. They're just mean because they're mean, and I wish them ill will, and I hope they trip and fall on the sidewalk and break their leg, you know? Nope, maybe just me. The reality is, I've never do that. The reality is they're going through a lot of their own stuff. And this is what we learned about COVID, right? Like, I became a literal grief counselor during COVID. I have come to realize that I am not meant to be in counseling. I had to humanize our professors for students. We've had professors lose children, lose marriages, lose their homes. Like if they had we have a lot of professors that actually run businesses, and like businesses have failed. I mean, I had to humanize our professors to say they're people too. And you look at them as like the 3 hours you spend in class, they have a life that they're also working through. And yes, they absolutely have a responsibility to perform to their contract and to be the kind of professor we want them to be. But let's all walk forward in grace, because during COVID, man, we were all working the best that we could do. I think Ty has a question. Did I see you raise your hand, Ty? I'm just kidding.
How do you grow your network through social media?
How do I what?
You said you use social media as a way to grow.
Oh, I love this.
That's just not
It's a great question.
relationships.
You don't?
I think we're connected on LinkedIn. What are we talking about? You don't use it. Come on, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, it's there. But
Okay.
something like I met this person, they're great.
Do you get the push notifications? And
Yeah, I mean, like, and I'd love to see what they're doing in their career, but I don't think I use it as a tool to like build my relationship with my clients at all.
yeah.
Can we do this and oh,
You did that.
yeah.
You did it to me.
I said hi.
You're like, I was a creeper.
And I saw you like 10 minutes later, and you're like, "How was the house that you just walked through?" And I was like, "How did you know about that?" I was like, "Oh."
Oh,
Yeah.
that's just because I read
That
it,
is
but
the thing.
I don't know how like I don't engage my audience, I guess, and my clients, like my friends, COIs, networks, those things, absolutely, but like actual clients, I don't use it for social.
Can we do this? Can you answer that question about how you use it, and then I'll tell everyone what I see, how you use it?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's what I know about push versus pull selling and marketing. When you push things, you are pushing your product. You will notice that my LinkedIn posts are not like, are you thinking about an MBA? Question mark. Come see me! Exclamation point. The pull is when you are so magnetic. People want to be around your energy. They want what you want. They want to have it. And what I do with LinkedIn is I brag about our people. I think anyone can do that. Canopy does that really well. I brag about our people. I am really authentic about my struggles as a working mom. And when you're authentic, people are like, you're real. And I can connect with you on a level. You think I show up here with my, super trendy top knot and my high heels, like I have it all together, and yet my son wet the bed last night, and we're like trying to change sheets, and I'm like crying because like I'm gonna be filmed
Mine was having
tomorrow.
nightmares all night last night. Yeah. So.
Declan, now is not the time. No. And so I'm authentic with my struggle, and then I just love this community. I think we have an opportunity in Spokane where people really value community. In other places, I don't think it's as deep and rich like that. So anytime I can show or demonstrate how our people are positively impacting Spokane, then that's also a win. And then what does that do? Gosh, what are they doing? Whatever they're doing, like I want to be a part of that. Josh?
I was gonna say, so you said it, but I think a couple of things that you do really well. The bragging on people is awesome because that gives you the capital to post about you in between, right? So, and if you notice, Sinead does not post every week, every day. She posts, you even told me, we met up for coffee to talk about this, and you're like, I don't think I've posted all summer, which may or may not hurt you in the algorithm, but that's another conversation for a different business brew. But her posts about the people gives her that capital to post about herself, and when she posts about herself, it's brutal, ugly transparency. She gets real honest about what's going on with her in her life, with her struggles. It's not always a win, sometimes it's a win. And I think that creates that she's buying empathy, right? Because she's showing you that she's a real human with real human struggles. And even though she may not be empathizing with what you have going on, you're able to see how she could do that.
Yeah.
The other thing that she's doing, Ty, really well is she's identified where her audience is. Her audience are people working and who want to advance their career or advance their education. And those people, where are they hanging out online? We're hanging out on LinkedIn. I'm streaming this on Facebook, which is the wrong place to be streaming this. It wasn't always, but I had to apply to stream it on LinkedIn. But my audience, my followers, everybody's on LinkedIn. They're not on Facebook anymore. They're not on Instagram anymore. So understanding where your audience is and then focusing, Mary does a good job of this,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Focusing your attention where your people are, that's the right play. And
Yeah.
you do that really well. So in the MBA program, which I'm in right now, so I am drinking the Kool-Aid in so many ways. I do an online class here and there, and when I'm in an online class and we do our Zoom session, I'm adding everyone in that Zoom session to my LinkedIn, and then I use chat and tell them, watch out for my invitation because I will add you, right? Because that's the place where I know my business thrives, where my audience is, but it's also where these people are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had something really poignant there and I forgot about it.
We'll just pretend it happened.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, here it is. It's like, right, what do we know about trust? 3 things. It is iterative and layered. It happens over time. And it happens in small moments, right? That's a Brene Brown. So it's researched. I do not have the capacity as one person to do over time small moments of connection with people. I just don't. And maybe when I started and our MBA was smaller, I could do that more readily and more easily. That's what social media provides you, are these like drip connection points. And Heather had to leave, but she started company Drip 7 because what does the data show us? You need to be dripped information 7 times before it resonates with you. So in the olden days, that's 7 coffees. I have for people I've recruited over 5 years. It's not sustainable and it's not scalable, you know? So social media allows you to expedite the trust process really effectively, Ty. You should post. Yeah. And I've been super authentic. I mean, here's what I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna badmouth my company. I'm not gonna badmouth people. I don't post political things, but like I did a post about postpartum depression.
Those are really good. If you didn't write those points down that she talked about, those are really, really, really good points. And
Yeah.
the politics aside, be political anywhere else. It's
Yeah.
not, LinkedIn's not the platform for that. It's just not. It's not built like that. It's the water cooler. But your points are really great there on what you did. My favorite post of yours all time was about you and your husband and some of the tension that was being created throughout just working and all of that stuff. And I loved that because, again, I'm married. I feel the same pressure.
Yeah.
We both have 4 kids. There's a lot in common there.
Yeah.
So when you talked about that very real situation, you didn't badmouth him. I think you probably could have if you'd wanted to, but you didn't. And, you know, it was great. It was really, I was able to empathize with you in that.
And I will say that it's just like anything when you start to exercise, it's a hard muscle to learn to do. It seems really like you're forcing yourself to do it. I now think in LinkedIn bites. I'm like, ooh, that happened. How would I phrase that? What's my punch at the end? And sometimes they're really thought out. Other times, like when my kids went to school, I'm like, just a quick post, you know?
Yeah.
So, but social media is it's a powerful way to form connection without being in front of people.
I will tell you, of all the things I've ever posted, you said this and I love this, you don't promote your product. So Ty, what do you do again? Thank you so much for being our guinea pig for this, by the way. We're just picking on Ty. People are like watching, like, who's this Ty? Anyway.
Yo, famous.
Yeah, promoting anything to do with your banking, right, according to that's not the right play. The play is everything around that, your life. You're expecting your first child. While your wife is expecting, you're watching it. Right, yeah. So, but talking about that journey as a new parent, all those things are really great. The most effective thing I've ever posted in the history of my business was in the middle of the pandemic. I got up to do something. I was up super early. I hadn't slept. I took this picture of my hair, my beard, and it blew up. And all I was doing, I was like, I'm not here to get sympathy or empathy. I'm just here to tell you, like, I get it. And if you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. Because it's brutal. It was brutal for a lot of people. So doing that, talking about like, this is a hard journey, doing business, being a parent, being married. That's how you're going to build that relationship.
And you can brag about Castle at Riverbank, someone Ty works with. Brag about Adam. Like, Adam's an all-star. You're in banking. They know what you do, right? If you have a loan, I'm going to go with my teddy bear friend, Ty, and I'm going to be like, help me out, bro. And that's I think, is another thing about selling. You don't have to flood people with your product. They know what you do. They are aware.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
I think it's the fear, maybe, and I got over this pretty early. I think children will change your perspective.
Get ready, Ty, saddle up.
But it's not, you don't have to be perfect for people to do business with you.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to come in this package that looks,
Yeah.
I was struggling with getting children out of the house, and we dropped out of daycare. I was going to be 15 minutes late. Yeah, these all are real things.
Hot mess posts are the best.
So great.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think, especially in Spokane, there's not an image of a perfect person doing X job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do business with
Yeah, and people don't relate to that. I mean, I'm competent, I have it together, you know, but when people understand that I'm a human, they're actually quite surprised. I'm like, I'm funny. Oh, yep.
Do you find that to be a generational thing? Because are there any other Gen Xers in here?
Yeah.
Because this whole, like, when you're talking this openness, and
Yeah.
especially in a public forum,
Does that make you uncomfortable?
really sticks in my craw.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a Gen Xer, no.
Yeah.
That scares the hell out of me.
Well, and I think there's power in even talking about that in part of what you're doing is saying like, hey, this stuff's weird and awful for me because of, you know, my generation. You guys don't trust anything or anybody,
No.
right? Yeah.
So, but yeah, just like, because you're telling me this as a Gen Xer, I'm like, no, that's not happening.
That's,
Lean into
that's
it.
good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You have a.
So to that point, how do we help people understand that from the old, I'll say the old way of selling, where
Yeah.
it's push, push, push.
Yeah,
and
transactional.
car salesman
Mhm.
image that people conjure up.
Mhm.
How do we help people understand that this is really, the relational selling is the new way of doing business?
Like, how do you train people on your team?
Yeah, or even the recipients. So it's,
Mm.
if you're going to talk to a potential client, or you're trying to reach a potential client, and their expectation might be, oh, it's just another salesperson, and hang up the phone, or they're not necessarily have to leave the office, or whatever their tactic is.
Oh,
How do
interesting.
we help them understand that this is a new way
Mm.
of selling, that this relationship is really sincere, and
Yeah.
this is what we're doing?
Yeah. That's a really great question. Part of my answer would be you also need to know your audience well. So if you have clients and they're like, I don't need you to know about my family. I want to see the plans. I want to see the proposal. It takes you reading them properly to know that that's what they want. The thing about relational selling is that it takes time. So the reality is you don't need to do like a workshop with your people to say, this is our new approach. When you form connection with people, with clients, it's like, look at their social media. When you talk to them, are they saying, my kid joined a new soccer team, or this happened? And then what I try to do as well is I will email them or then connect with them, not a Bernardo Willis thing, but like, hey, did you see that Dick's Sporting Goods is having a sale on soccer balls? You like mentioned that you're having a hard time. I saw this link. Or we'll talk about something and I'll send people articles, or I'll just, and that connection starts being formed slowly on something other than business. But then when they need business, you do business with people you know, like, and trust. So that's where it's like shifting the perspective. A win with relational sales is a connection. I want to answer your question directly. Josh, you got so giddy when she asked it. I
thought it was a great
animation.
question. Yeah, I mean, this
Sorry.
isn't about me, but I think Darian at Vista Title does a wonderful job of this. He was at a workshop that I presented at through GSI, and he came up afterwards, was like, I really love what you're doing. Can I take you out to lunch? And I thought, you know what, first, free lunch, sure, whatevs. And I own my own business, so I can have a beer because I don't care what anybody else thinks. So I was like, yeah, I'll go out to lunch. He surprised me so much because he didn't say anything about Vista Title. He didn't say anything about what he was pushing, promoting, selling. He just was legitimately interested in what I was doing. And now he's got folks from his team that show up to these events. I'm connected to a bunch of his team because of it. I'm super aware of what they do. He didn't have to tell me. And so now, if I'm ever in the position where I know somebody who's buying a home or a property or something and they need a title company, I know exactly who I'm going to refer him to. And all he did was take me out to lunch. So I was pleasantly surprised, kind of knowing going in that what this could look like. It's really when you get that LinkedIn invitation and they're like, that you accept it, you're not really sure if you know them, and you accept it, and then they immediately hit you with like a sales thing, and you're like, bleh, get out of here. When you pleasantly surprise people by beating their expectation or defying their expectation, I think that's the first step in going down. And you can't take everyone out to lunch, but what you do on social and how you post or how you present yourself or in those meetings can really set things apart in that process.
Yeah, like when I meet with people at their office or anywhere, a real low-hanging fruit is like, I see a picture of their kids. Do you have kids? I got kids. Tell me about your kids. You know, or I see that they're an alum of someplace, or I like their pants, or, you know, any number of things. And I connect with them on something other than business. And it's powerful. But I will say, so, you know, it's a concept called the Hijari window. And it's where you are authentically you, but you open and close your window depending on your audience. So I'm normally very loud and very like fun. But I will tell you that for engineers and some accountants, like I'm just gonna stereotype, they want facts. They're like, what they value in our conversation is not that I like their runners. They wanna know return on investment. They wanna know how long does it take. They wanna know which credits will transfer in. And I learned in those instances, I'm still authentically me, I close my window a little bit. And I'm like, okay, I want to give you what you need. Because that's also being a good steward, right? That's also being a good salesperson. When I feel like people aren't getting to the point, if I'm in that interactive mode, I get frustrated by like too much bounciness. So I read them, right? We got a slew of engineers all at once. I really honed this craft. Here's what your degree plan would look like. Here's our cost per credit. If you're a good test taker, you can take the GMAT. Here's what kind of discount you could receive. Great, okay. You know, if I'm meeting with like an HR person or marketing person or a salesperson, I'm like, hey, what's up? Yeah. You know, reading it, 100%.
Researching your audience.
And then I'd also say this. I am more casual in my communication because I know that it is paired with very formal communication from my company, for example. So I also want them to take us seriously. You know, like we are a legit graduate program. You are a very legitimate firm. So you want your salesperson to be able to be a little more, I don't want to say super informal, that's my personality, but a little more casual in their approach because you're a friend, followed up then with communication from your company that's everything they need, formal, professional, moves the dial forward. And that's like the play that we have in our office, and it works really well. You want information on your credit transfer agreement, or you have to contact KB. She's an English major, and she's gonna write you the most articulate email that is very professional. I'm then gonna follow up with like, we good question? No, but like, you know, I'm gonna follow up with something very, like far more friendly. You know? Yes. Oh. It's Taylor. Yeah, you haven't spoken yet.
So question is I feel like I introduce myself and people ask me what you do. And when I say financial advisor, they run. And my husband is a police officer, and they're like, oh, tell me about that cool story. So how do you transition there when you are saying you essentially are a salesperson, and they're like, oh my gosh, this person's going to try to sell themselves?
Yeah. None of you were with me. I was literally at coffee. This guy named Drew comes up because he's seen my LinkedIn and he follows me. And I give him my business card and he's like, oh, whoa, like you work for Whitworth? And I was like, bro, I don't just post about Whitworth out of like adoration. First thing he said to me, don't try and sell me a graduate degree. And my friend who was with me was like, that was really bold. I was like, I'll get him one day. Give me 2 years.
Challenge accepted.
Noted. But to your point, there are times I don't tell people exactly what I do. I'll just say, oh, I work in higher ed. So you say, I work in finance. When you follow up with them via email, or they see you someplace, so you give them a business card, that's a way for them not to run. You can get a conversation in or form a connection, and then you follow up, and then they know exactly what you do. But yes, and then I don't take it personally. I'm like, challenge accepted, Drew. I'll get you. One day at a time. Why are you laughing, Ty? Yeah.
I was gonna say you do a phenomenal job.
Yeah. She's a financial planner as well.
And
Yeah.
you just say, I know, I saw your eyes roll, it's cool. Like, make a joke of it.
I hate it too.
Add
No.
humor.
Like, cool, yeah, I know, everybody doesn't love us, but do I look like everybody else? No.
Yeah.
So,
And like my friend who was with me in that interaction was offended for me. That was rude. I was like, didn't even.
yeah, take it as a challenge.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
what else?
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, noted. But that's a real thing. Or people, when you hear you're a small business owner or an entrepreneur, they think, oh, you're trying to sell me something. The only time I feel I have faltered on my relational sales ethos, like what I really believe in, is when I felt panicked. And that was during COVID, when I was like, where is everyone? And then I was like trying to rush the connection, because you form the connection and you're not getting paid just to make friends, right? You do have to produce. I love y'all. But at that point, I was rushing the close, because I was like, I just need people in the door. And that's not effective either. And I was like, wow, this is happening because I'm feeling really panicked. And people can sense that, I feel. So long circle back. 1, just say you're in finance. 2, connect with Mary. 3, follow up with them in a way that they will understand your formal title. Another great thing about LinkedIn. The guy might not know I'm an assistant dean, but if he follows me on LinkedIn, you do great on LinkedIn. He's gonna know what I do and who I am. Yeah.
This Business Brew was sponsored by LinkedIn, by the way. Just
Yeah. It's one of those things, actually, I was connecting with a professor, and I had to kind of give him hard news. His class got postponed. And the thing he said was, it's okay, I know your journey, I've followed you on LinkedIn, I know what you're about. Like, just, it's fine. And I thought, okay, I've got to get more on LinkedIn. Because people resonate with us, and when people have a trust with you, they forgive you faster. So that's the other thing about connection, is when you have genuine connection, people forgive a lot, you know? And that's key in my world. And then if you do something wrong, make it right ×2. I learned that from a friend at 10 Capital. Everyone messes up, make it right ×2. Like when I do a oops, I'm like, we're gonna make this right for you. I'm gonna call the person personally, I'm gonna have them ring you personally, I'm gonna do something, make it right ×2. And then people are even more endeared to you. They're like, oh wow, they really care. Cindy?
We've talked a lot, if you think about sales, like planting seeds, right? Like farming. We've talked a lot about it. We haven't talked about how you transition if you don't have a formal institution that's closing for you. And you have all these great friends. I have always, in my sales life, had a hard time with the close, right? I mean, follow through, great. You know, making friends, great. But how, if someone doesn't have the more formal communication, how do you transition from being like, hey, you know, I have kids too, and you know, and talk about the MBA kind of, and then like, okay, are you ready? You know, here's the paperwork for your, you know, that for me has always been the hard thing, to transition from the relational side to the close.
To the close.
Picking the flowers instead of planting seeds.
Yeah, picking the flowers. I mean, Cindy, I've been trying to get you into the MBA for like 5 years.
And what did I sign up for?
The Elevate Women's Certificate. You did. We'll get you. That is a great question. So here's what I do is, and this is a Sinéad thing, and I don't know if it's going to translate into every industry. So I will do things like when I get a scholarship that a donor has given, I'm having lunch this afternoon with someone I've been recruiting for 3 years. I'm going to be like, hey, we just got a scholarship. It's 10%. I thought of you. Like, is now a good time? And if they're like, never, I'm like, okay, that's cool. We'll be friends. I've had people choose other places to get graduate degrees, and I will still like be friends with them. Like it is not, and I want that reputation. If you don't choose us, I want you to choose what's best for you. And they chose another institution that had the concentration they wanted. I can't fault you for that. I'm still maintaining connection. Here's the hard thing about my job, and then I'm gonna directly answer your question, because I'm gonna do that, is that, people don't need multiple graduate degrees, right? Like some people do, But like the beauty of sales is that you get repeat business. In my industry, we've had to create avenues for that with like the 360 lunches, the certificates, but the repeat business, like cultivating retention, is also where you get your book, right? And that's where the repeat sales. I don't have that. They should leave us. Like, when we do our job right, they actually should graduate. So it's a very intriguing sales model. But what I do is I have a piece. So it's like if you were to approach me, Cindy, and say, hey, does the Whitworth MBA want to sponsor this event we have? I wouldn't be like, why is Cindy trying to sell me something? I'd be like, oh, I don't know, tell me more about it. I give them an opportunity to engage with my product, is what I do. And that's how I close.
Like signing up for a certificate program before you get an MBA?
Yeah. We'll count it for an internship credit, Cindy, if you'd like to. No. I also have pathways. So when, I don't want to digress too much. Identity-based sales is like identity-based habits, like James Clear. So some people think the goal in sales is to just sell, right? We know that it's a little different with relational selling, but you figure out what your identity is, and that's like this middle circle. And that's who you are and who you want to be. It's what you want people's experience to be when they're with you, and what you want people to experience in themselves when they are with you. That's your identity. The next circle is your process. So in the Whitworth MBA, I was horrified at the idea that you could be admitted into a graduate program with a GPA and a GMAT. We heard nothing about your story, about who you are, about what type of person you are. So if I knew that our identity was in this community, for this community, good people first, how do I then create processes to do that? Okay, I started waiving the GMAT or doing GMAT alternatives. I created direct admissions for people that I knew were really invested in this community. I created recruitment funnels with Emerging Leader Society, EWI, like community groups that I really believed in. I created new scholarship structures that rewarded people other than just their academics, so you could win money for how much you impact this community, because those are the type of people I want. So I created the process, and then the outcome, the goal, right, was increased enrollment. So we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. So I can't expect to sell more if I don't have the process in place. So what Ignite has been doing is, like, when you have all these events and opportunities for people to engage, you are creating pathways. And I think what people have to recognize as well is when you are genuinely connected with people and you have a relationship, it's not a sale if Shelly knows my home building struggle and she's like, I have a loan that could help you. It's like she's doing me a favor. She's creating for me an opportunity. So we have to reframe that in our own minds, because we are the only people holding ourselves back. It is true. Did you have a question, our tech man extraordinaire?
I was going to just say, one of the things that I guess keeps coming to mind is, sales always seems like an extrovert activity.
Yeah.
And, being an introvert, like, sales always feels like, I don't know, the ugly things. So what, tips, would you have for someone who's, introvert in the sales space?
Yeah. I would say if you could master one line that you feel comfortable with, and maybe that line for you is, hey, if you're ever looking for someone, I'm available. It's just one line. It's like you have a 15-minute conversation with someone, and you just say, like, hey, if you're ever looking for someone, I'm available. I love this kind of stuff. Great. Like, I think it can be as simple as repeating the one line in your mind that directs people to what you do. I think introverts make some of the best salespeople. You naturally listen better. Mm-hmm. I feel like you're naturally more intentional. And I actually feel like because you listen better, you can pick up on more of the emotional side. I actually think extroverts have a harder time with this because we have like a running dialogue in our head and like an
We're
answer,
just waiting for our turn to talk.
and a funny quip and like a ha, and people can be like, oh. I know people who are salespeople and they suck the air out of the room because they're so, I mean, y'all probably know. And so I would also reframe your perception of yourself. I think introverts actually have a leg up in sales. And I think like anything that you have to work on, you just have to work on the part where you add that ending. I have to work on slowing down, on listening, on being intentional. If anyone wants an MBA, no, I'm just kidding.
You take a Myers-Briggs test, right?
Yeah,
Start with an E,
I think I am, yeah. I don't know, I've taken Myers-Briggs ages ago. Strength finders, I'm a woo, achiever, futuristic, communicator, something. And then what was it? Oh, the Enneagram, I'm a 3. Yeah.
Okay, on that note, we're past our time.
Okay.
I just want to be mindful
Yeah,
of
people need to
everyone's
go. They
time.
need to make magic happen.
So,
yeah.
just a couple things. We'll do one round of applause for all the people involved. So, Sinead, Nathan, Andrew with Brew Peddler, and Bernardo Wills. A round of applause for everyone. If you want to continue coming to Business Brew, traditionally we've been the first Thursday of every month, but we're kind of in an every other month rotation right now just because COVID made things weird. But give me your business card, I'll put you into a newsletter list, and it just sends you out when the next one's coming and a couple other things. So if you want to be included in that, just give me your card before you leave. And on that note, we can hang out, we can chat more. I just want to be mindful that if you have somewhere to be, it's not rude to get up and go right now. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you. And yeah, there you go.